He escapes a police station with his bare hands. Within hours, he and his old partner walk into a restaurant full of armed gangsters and dismantle every single one of them. Then he finds his daughter's phone and reads the messages that prove he failed her before she was ever taken. That's the gut punch at the center of episode 3. Not the fights, not the chase. The moment a father realizes his daughter was lonely long before she was missing. Agent Kim Reactivated episode 3 doesn't just crank the action. It asks you what you'd do if the person you're fighting to save needed you long before the danger started. And that's what makes this the strongest episode of the series so far. The episode opens quietly. A flashback, Kim and Min-jae in their ordinary life before the kidnapping. She wants a new phone. He acts cold about it the way exhausted single fathers do. But in secret, he buys her exactly what she wanted, plus a heart-shaped keyring. When Min-jae finds the gift, she opens her door and says it. "Dad, I love you." This memory matters. It sits underneath every decision Kim makes for the rest of the episode. He isn't just hunting kidnappers. He's haunted by the version of himself that was too tired, too distant, too late. After being detained at the station, carried over from episode 2's cliffhanger, Kim sees his confiscated phone light up. It's a call from Min-jae's number. The possibility that she's still alive rewires him instantly. He subdues the squad chief and walks out. Not runs, not panics, walks, because this version of Kim, the one the station just lost control of, is no longer the mild office manager. Codename 66 is fully online. On the other side of this, the Special Mission Bureau, led by Kang Gukseol, mobilizes to capture Kim before things spiral further. They're not the bad guys, exactly, but they're also not going to help him find a kidnapped teenager. They're there to contain the mess, and that makes them an obstacle, whether they like it or not. At the same time, Park Kang-sung, the North Korean operative played by Kim Sung-kyu, starts moving through Seoul like a ghost. You don't get much of him yet, but every scene he's in tightens the frame. This man is calculating, patient, and entirely unbothered by everything unfolding around him. You get the sense he's been waiting for this. Kim goes to Sung Han-soo, his old comrade, played by Choi Di-hoon, and asks for a bunker. That's it. Just a place to hide. But the moment Han-soo hears Min-jae has been kidnapped, he doesn't ask a single question. He stands up and walks out the door with Kim. This is the scene where the show declares what it's really about. 3 middle-aged men, Kim, Han-soo, Jin-chul, who were once the most dangerous operatives in the country, reactivating not for country or ideology, but for a daughter none of them want to fail. Together, Kim and Han-soo track Min-jae's phone signal to a gang hideout disguised as a restaurant. And what follows is the episode's centerpiece action sequence. 2 middle-aged men walking into a room full of armed thugs and systematically dismantling every single one. The choreography here is clean, creative, and surprisingly funny. There's a moment where Jin-chul, who's caught up in his own parallel fight, uses a refrigerator door as a shield. It's casual, almost bored. That one move tells you everything about these men. They've done this so many times that a fridge door is just another tactical option. The camera work in this sequence deserves real attention. Director Lee Seung-young lets the action breathe. Long takes, wide coverage, minimal cuts. You can actually see the geography of every fight, where each body is, who's being thrown where. In a genre that loves frantic editing, this episode shows restraint, and it's so much better for it. After the fight, Kim recovers Min-jae's phone. And this is where episode 3 earns its emotional weight. He scrolls through her messages, her diary, her exchanges with so-called friends, including Hyeryong, who only seems available when it's convenient. He reads what his daughter wrote when no one was watching, and what he finds isn't evidence about the kidnapping. It's evidence about her isolation, how lonely she'd been, how exhausted, how invisible. So Jae-sub's performance in this scene is devastating. He doesn't wail. He doesn't collapse into melodrama. He just stops. The man who just tore through a restaurant full of gangsters is completely undone by a text message his daughter wrote months ago. Why didn't I notice sooner? Hansu tries to pull him back. "Let's find Minjai first. That way you can apologize." It's the kind of line that sounds simple on paper, but Choi Di-hoon delivers it with the exact right amount of weight, not comforting, just practical. A soldier refocusing another soldier. Before Kim can recover, Park Kang-sung appears behind him, gun to his head. "Found you, fake 66. Cut to black. Episodes 1 and 2 were competent setup. We got the missing daughter, the buried past, the reluctant reactivation. But episode 3 is where the show stops explaining its premise and starts earning it. The phone scene rewrites everything that came before. Kim isn't just a retired agent playing hero. He's a father confronting the fact that he failed his daughter emotionally long before anyone physically took her. That's not garnish on the action. That is the story. So Jae-sub, Choi Di-hoon, and Yoon Kyung-ho have an impossible chemistry. Kim is the quiet center of gravity. Han-soo is the steady second-in-command who brings warmth. Jin Chul is the wild card, comic relief that never undercuts the stakes. Together they feel lived in. You believe these men have history because the actors sell it in every glance and every silence, not just the dialogue. The restaurant fight and the rooftop shootout are genuinely impressive by K-drama standards. The stunt work is inventive without becoming cartoonish. The long takes let you appreciate the physicality. And there's a self-awareness to it. The show knows you're watching middle-aged men with dad bods throw gangsters through tables, and it leans into that absurdity without mocking it. Minjai is mostly absent this episode. She's the object of the search, not a presence in it. But the flashback scenes and the phone messages give Seo Soo-min enough material to remind you why her performance matters. She's holding her own against veterans twice her age. The warmth she brings to the father-daughter flashback is the reason the phone scene lands as hard as it does. Kang Gukseol and his team are still operating as plot machinery rather than characters. They chase Kim because the script needs another obstacle. But there's no texture to them, yet no individual motivations, no internal conflict. In an episode this tight, it's noticeable when certain scenes feel like filler between the real story beats. I understand the instinct to keep your villain in the shadows. But 3 episodes in, we've had maybe 5 minutes of Kang-sung total. The cliffhanger lands because of Kim Sung-kyu's screen presence, not because we fully understand what this man represents. Episode 4 needs to start filling in that backstory, or the North Korean operative thread risks feeling like a second show awkwardly bolted onto the first one. What makes episode 3 work, beyond the fights and the performances, is how thoroughly it ties the action to its themes. Every punch Kim throws is motivated by guilt, not just love. He's not just saving his daughter. He's trying to undo years of emotional absence. The show is making a pointed argument here, and it's one that K-dramas don't always handle with this much subtlety. Being a provider is not the same as being present. Kim bought the phone. He bought the keyring. He worked himself to exhaustion, and none of it mattered because Minjai needed him, not his paycheck. The kidnapping is the crisis that forces the confrontation, but the wound was already there. This also extends to Han-soo and Jin Chul. They're not fathers to Minjai, but they step into the mission without hesitation, almost like they're trying to be the kind of present, protective figures Kim couldn't be. The show is building a surrogate family around this rescue operation, and it's doing it with more emotional intelligence than most action thrillers bother with. Kim is not going to die at the end of that cliffhanger, so Jae-sub is the show. But the Kang-sung confrontation will force information to the surface, specifically, who orchestrated Minjai's kidnapping and why the North cares about a retired South Korean operative. I suspect the Special Mission Bureau will eventually become reluctant allies rather than antagonists. They're positioned as bureaucratic obstacles now, but the Kang-sung threat is too big for Kim to face with just 2 old friends. Episode 4 will almost certainly be a team assembly episode. Jin Chul officially rejoining, Han-soo fully committed, and maybe, just maybe, an uneasy truce with Kang Gukseol. As for Minjai, the phone confirmed she was alive recently enough to call, but the show hasn't shown us where she's being held or by whom. My read, she's with the gang that took her, but that gang is a front for something bigger. The North Korean connection isn't random. Someone used local criminals as disposable muscle, and Park Kang-sung is here to clean up loose ends, including Kim. Episode 3 of Agent Kim Reactivated is where the show stops being promising and starts being genuinely good. The action is sharper, the performances are deeper, and the emotional stakes finally match the physical ones. So Jae-sub is giving a career-best performance in a role that asks him to be terrifying and broken in the same scene. If this episode hit you the way it hit me, drop a comment. What was the moment that got you? The restaurant fight, the phone scene, that cliffhanger. Subscribe for more breakdowns.